Are you overwhelmed by the challenge of personalizing communication for thousands of students? That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. From nudging prospective students to guiding those already on their journey, AI assistants don't just automate. They write, build, and optimize every step of your digital campaigns. Discover how at element451.com/AI team. Imagine the day you land on, insert institution.edu, and instead of a drone video, it is a very similar experience to going to Google, and it's ask, this university anything.
Yeah.
And you just start to interact with the website like you and I are talking right here.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your Monday morning energizer covering insights and trends in higher ed marketing and enrollment. I'm Mallory Wilsey, bringing over 15 years of ed tech and marketing expertise to your earbuds.
And I'm Seth Odell, joining the Pulse with my own adventures from leading marketing at top universities to founding Kanahoma, one of the industry's fastest growing digital marketing agencies.
Each week, we bring you the kind of insider insights you typically only find over cocktails with your pals at a conference.
It's fast, it's fun, and it's designed for you, the busy higher ed professional.
You're not just listening to another podcast.
You're checking the pulse of higher education.
Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher ed professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. All right, Seth, I have a confession to make.
Okay, what is it? This is a great start.
I love fluff.
Like Fluffernutter? Yeah.
Like the marshmallow spread that everybody should put between bread and with peanut butter.
PB and fluff. Yes.
I'm obsessed with it. Like, this is a staple of childhood. Am I right?
You definitely are. I, in fact, remember when I first moved to LA, I remember going and looking for fluff because it was hard to find on the West Coast. And so I'm a fluff fan in New York. Yeah, I used to eat PB and fluff all the time. In fact, I really want one right now. I haven't had one in like 20 years probably. But yeah, it sounds pretty good.
It does. I mean, admittedly do not have a jar of fluff in my pantry at the moment, but I feel like I should. And I, too, when I moved to LA, went on the hunt for fluff.
Wait, really? We both did?
I for real did. You can't find it.
Right?
I think it's a brand that only exists on the East Coast. My husband didn't even know what it was.
Well, that has to be solved immediately because it's something that everyone should experience. I'm like, now in my head, I'm already like, do I introduce that to Lola? But I'm like, she's pretty young. I'm like, she's not going to eat regular sandwiches if she knows that they could come with marshmallow on them. So I'm going to have to decide when to introduce her, but I need to revisit.
A big scoop of fluff in her hot chocolate this winter.
Ooh, I've never tried that.
That's it.
All right. You see, no fluff on this podcast. It's
no
all
fluff
substance here. Even talking fluff, we're bringing tips and tricks.
Oh, it's what our listeners expect, I gotta say,
Hopefully, because if not, I don't know what they're tuning in for.
It's true. I can guarantee somebody at AMA next month is going to come up to us and give us their hot take on fluff. In fact, I challenge you, listeners, to find me and Seth and give us your hot fluff takes.
I love it. That sounds great.
All right. Well, as much as I would like to sit here and just keep talking about fluff for the next 20 minutes, I think we should probably move on to more serious topics.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. I'm actually coming off of a couple conferences from a few weeks ago, and High Ed Web, now Digital Collegium and NACAC. So I've been thinking a lot about websites again. I feel like I'm back in my M Stoner days here, but specifically about how websites support or don't support the recruitment process. And even one step further, I feel like there are a lot of conversations about on-site search. And with
where we're at in the college search process, you may actually be sabotaging your recruitment efforts if your website is difficult to search. We know prospective students right now are very focused on looking up key information on your website, particularly around your programs. Those program pages are just critical, especially at this stage in the recruitment cycle. And if a prospective student is visiting your institution's website and they're excited to explore your programs and they type a query into that search bar, but they don't actually get helpful results, like they're going to leave empty-handed and they're going to go to your competitor's website and find that information instead. And that's not just like the experience of a single student. I think this is a pretty common issue across higher ed. Seth, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it just highlights the reality that higher ed websites are like everything to everyone, and they're like a closet that hasn't been cleaned out. And so there's obviously the first issue of like, who's the primary audience, and it has to be prospective students. But I do think it comes down to this conversation, like which we're having today, about discoverability and like how are students supposed to be able to find and access the information they need. There's so many times that when I'm looking for information on a client's website, I will search Google and then I'll do site : with the .edu website there, because I'd rather trust Google's ability to crawl their site and find the information than use the actual search available within the .edu site itself. And so, yeah, this is a big problem. And the few folks that I think have solved it are going to get benefits from it. So many folks are still struggling.
Yeah. And just imagine if you're not a native English speaker or you're an international student, right? So you're saying you're having these problems and you actually speak English. It's somebody whose first language is Chinese or Spanish. Like, it just heightens the lack of access to information. And, furthermore, institutions are just inundated with such a high volume of inquiries across every platform: phone calls, emails, the website. And so this just, I think, leads to even more delayed responses. And there's just a lot of operational inefficiencies that wind up snowballing. So there's a lot of pains here, but I actually think that there's some really important solutions now, like that are different than ever before, thanks to artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I would love to like dig in and learn more about this. From my perspective, so much of the way I've approached site design in higher ed has been mostly like accepting the limitations of where we are. And so like folks that know me know that like I am like infamous for implementing program finders, which is like basically like a very simple click path of I want like grad, undergrad, on campus, online. You click your area of study and it serves up the program page, to avoid this like complicated navigation in the menu and browse around. And I will say, if you don't use a program finder, they're super effective. We, with our partners, always push to put them on the homepage, even in the hero. But I want to acknowledge, like, there's sort of a crutch, and it's sort of like we're using this because we're like really trying to reduce the click path for one core action, which is the percentage of students who are looking to find their program. And it's a good solution, but it's sort of a single solution for a single audience with a single problem. And it doesn't solve the broader issue of like people coming to the site that are, no, I'm looking for tuition information or campus visit information or like residency information. Like, all that's not solved with Program Finder. And like it very quickly gets messy when you try to solve more than one problem. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to try to dig in because from my perspective, I don't know how this gets solved in more meaningful ways. And so I'm even here to learn and talk a little bit about it.
Well, let's use a program as our use case. So let's pretend we're a prospective student. And this is also a nod to the way that we as individuals have evolved in how we search, right? And maybe 10 years ago, we would have just typed in business management 101, but search queries are getting longer, especially with the introduction of voice search and now people just turning to AI tools like ChatGPT. That query is getting longer, it's getting more specific. So today's prospective student, if they're looking to learn more information about your business program, they might actually go into the site search and type, what will I learn in business management 101?
Oh, that's really interesting. Like searching on your site the same way people search on Google. Because like I search problems on Google all day. It's like the primary thing if I go to a search engine is I will put in a problem. I do that on ChatGPT with prompts, but I don't yet do problem-based search like that on college websites. But it totally makes sense that like that's the natural evolution if people are using it elsewhere. Wow, I actually have to like pause and think about that. That's kind of actually a big shift, but totally makes sense. Hey, it's Seth. Element 451 is hosting the AI Engage Summit on October 29th and 30th. This free virtual event features many of your favorite Enrollify creators and will explore AI's impact on student engagement, enrollment marketing, and institutional success. Learn to tap into AI to automate personalized outreach, improve your emails, streamline content creation, and boost campaign performance. Plus, hear directly from current students on how AI is influencing their engagement and campus life. Don't miss my opening keynote, State of the State, a candid look at where we are and where we need to go. The AI Engage Summit is your guide to understanding and applying AI at your school. Registration is free. Visit element451.com to save your spot. Now, back to the show.
I'd be really curious to see website data from, a number of institutions to see if this shift, how quickly this is taking place.
Yeah.
Because I think if we're probably at the beginning or early days of this shift, but I think we need to expect it. And so if I'm a prospect and I'm saying, what will I learn in Business Management 101? I might get very overwhelming search results as a result of that question. Everything from the faculty in the business program to, who knows what on the program pages, instead of an immediate, concise response that actually answers the question, that is clear and to the point. And then just imagine this, right? Not just returning the search result, but actually having that on-site search prompt you for more. So here we are. This is where AI comes into play. If your site search is based in AI, and maybe this is where we're starting to see that blend of the AI assistant, right, with the site search.
Yeah.
Instead of just returning a bunch of overwhelming links, what if that AI search tool responded with an actual answer? This is what you will learn in Business Management 101. Oh, and here's the clubs. Would you like to learn about our entrepreneurial club on campus? Or would you like to see what recent business grads, where they're employed or what current students are doing for internships? I mean, this is all information that the prospective student really wants to get to. They just might have started with a simple question.
Yeah. How would an AI solution get that information? I mean, is it just crawling the site and better organizing it for discoverability? Or is there training involved? That'd be the biggest hurdle I'd need to figure out in my head to get over is how does it get to a place where it's so effective? But conceptually, I'm super on board. It feels almost like a blurring of a site search and a chatbot, where you're able to almost have this this thread of question and answer that in a way really is becoming conversational, which is super interesting.
Exactly. I mean, AI-powered site searches are going to be based on an LLM, and they're going to use a knowledge base that is curated by you. So that's going to ensure that, one institution to the next are able to answer that question accurately. But, today's curation of knowledge bases is not our pre-open AI. It's not your grandma's knowledge base. It's not you need to know a lot of FAQs. You are just loading it up with information. So maybe actually FAFSA inquiries is another good example of this, because that's maybe a little more complex, and individuals who are managing the website are probably not FAFSA experts. But you can just point your knowledge base to the FAFSA website, which is always updated, right? And before that search takes off with its response, it's going to crawl the knowledge base, ultimately the FAFSA information that you've pointed it towards. And then, so if now I'm the prospect saying, okay, great, I've learned about business management, but I want to know what aid is available, it's going to, point it in the right direction so that the results are accurate, and then maybe even offer some follow-up questions along those lines of thinking.
Oh, and I think it really comes down to implementation and management and tracking its utilization, which I think does highlight a broader governance issue we constantly have in higher ed about where and how are websites managed. And historically, they were obviously managed primarily out of IT, and it was a functional management. And there wasn't really that level of optimization and performance improvement that more often comes from a performance marketing mindset. We're seeing more of a blur of that, I think, which is important. But to date, I've experienced that mostly from reducing click path, reducing bounce rates, increasing page specific conversion rates. Still the core metrics that aren't that far off from how somebody manages images, a microsite, or even in some cases just a landing page. But this is obviously a lot past that. So it is like understanding how it's being used and improving it over time. And I think it's really interesting to me because one of the biggest things that's like always the joke in higher ed is most of the business at the adult and online level, and increasingly at the traditional undergraduate level, is built around RFIs, request for information. But the reality is nobody wants more information from email or phone calls. Like they're on your website now. They want the information now. And like the whole existence of RFIs, and mind you, like my whole world lives in RFIs, so I'm like nervous to say this out loud, but like RFIs shouldn't exist. Like RFIs exist because of failure of the website to provide information. Like the calls to action should be just, are you ready to apply? Do you have more questions that we can provide you on the site? Or do you want to have a conversation? Like, great, let's get you on the phone with someone in admissions or someone in the area you want to study if you have specific questions. Like, do you want a conversation? Do you want to apply? Or do you want more answers? If you want more answers, it shouldn't be from email tomorrow and a phone call next week. It should be during your session on the website right now. And so, like conceptually, this could unravel RFI as a core function of the funnel, which both terrifies me, but also is like really exciting to think about.
Well, that data capture and those conversions can just happen right within the, like that inquiry form can just be embedded right within the search results and capture, right, like to your point, they're on the website right now. So capture the interest in real time and turn the query into an actual applicant or, you know, direct them towards a campus visit. If I'm asking a bunch of questions about business management, maybe there's an open house coming up where the business program's being featured. And so, you know, it's more seamless. The site experience now has not been disrupted. And because you're actually solving the questions and addressing the pains of the prospect, they're going to stay on your site property and not go off to third-party, you know, websites or places where, you know, they, or even worse, your competitors, right, where they might get better information.
Yeah, and I think it brings up like a peripherally related conversation about gated or ungated access to technology. One of my biggest frustrations as a consumer is when websites offer a chatbot, but they want my name and email before I can use it. And it's like, no, I don't want to become a lead yet. Like I'm still evaluating. I can't tell you how many times I bail out of the process with folks because it's like, no, I know exactly what you're going to do with this information. Like I capture this information too for a living. And it's like, I'm not ready yet. I don't want to be bothered yet. And I so rarely come across ungated chatbot experiences. But with site searches functioning properly, that's really sort of what it becomes. And you don't have to start giving up personal information yet. Like you can just ask the questions you want to get the information you need, which shouldn't be that hard and should be that easy, but conceptually, historically hasn't been. So to me, that's exciting. Just increase access to information, reduce friction, all that is a marketer's dream. Even if it means I don't get my RFI just yet, maybe I'll learn to navigate around that.
I mean, for as long as I've been in this industry, we've been attempting to make our higher ed websites more proactive, right? That for years, it's, oh, look at Amazon and how it, you know, just serves up information because it knows who you are and it understands your shopping habits. And it's never really been achievable for the majority of higher ed institutions because of lack of resources. Yeah. So this really can revolutionize the site experience in a more proactive way. The AI isn't just going to answer the questions, but it's also going to anticipate what the student really wants, what it really needs when it responds and suggests related topics like the deadlines for maybe financial aid or, you know, that upcoming campus event.
So I'm going to like definitely spotlight my own naivete in this question, but like, where are we at in this process? Meaning, like, is this conversation we're having about like this blended site search world that's almost engaging like a chatbot that's providing? Is this like a future state theoretical framework, which conceptually I'm bought in? This makes sense that tech is going to evolve there, or like are people like is this out there? Is this happening? Like I know that honestly, I will say too, like with everything with AI, the evolution is happening so much faster than a lot of us are anticipating. But yeah, like where are we at on the roadmap of this being theoretical versus practical?
Yeah. And listeners, for the record, I did not pay Seth to ask me that question.
No, we never share our questions with each other. So if you are, I'm here to learn. Yeah, if you have an answer.
For real. No. So Element 451, who, you know, produces Enrollify, actually just last week released a brand new product around generative search.
That does this?
Facts. This exists.
No
it's
way.
in the market.
I'm going on your website right now.
free. Yeah, you can learn all about it on the website. In fact, we actually have a webinar that's taking place tomorrow afternoon at 2:00.
Wow.
Element is going to feature, it's called Element Discovery, and it is the generative search solution that is going to transform how students are interacting with institutions online. So I'll drop a link to that webinar in the show notes, but if someone visits element451.com, you'll find that webinar pretty easily.
How cool. Okay, so we got to do another episode on this at some point in like 6 months or something, once we get we got some case studies in here, because this to me has the potential to be really big, but I'm also so excited to talk to folks about the ripple effect of this, because it does change the way you think about customer acquisition. I'm using air quotes if you're just listening.
Yeah.
And so the tech is going to provide an immediate solution to the user, which is obviously the most important thing. But also it's going to change the way we have to think a little bit as marketers about how things perform. I could see this reducing inquiry and then dramatically increasing stealth apps. We always talk about stealth apps as marketers as this gold star because they just showed up and applied. And it's well, I'm pretty sure they've been on your website for a while. Maybe they just did it on a work computer and now they're applying on the home computer, so you can't connect those two things to see it's the same person. But conceptually, if this increases site visitors jumping straight to application as an example, that could have a huge impact on recruitment in a positive way.
Yeah. And don't we hope that it does?
Yeah. How cool. How's this awesome? Okay. So once again, I feel with AI, I'm in this world where I'm always asked, was that going to be a someday thing? And it's no, it's a today thing constantly, which is a little unnerving, to be candid. But really great that it's this is moving really fast. I'm really excited to see a new era of site search. Because just to circle back on my early point, I have spent the majority of my higher ed career thinking we don't actually want people to use the website search function, right? That using the search function is somehow evidence of poor site architecture and poor information management. And that what we want is natural navigation, which is people seamlessly finding what they're looking for in a way that is as friction-free as possible. But what we really want is natural discovery, which is people finding the information they want. And if they can do that without having to navigate your site, every step that people take, we're losing a portion of that population through bounce back or people that are clicking and moving off in other areas. Not to mention how we're structured, right? I want to study, but it turns out, I was talking to someone yesterday who's well, if you want to study computer science with us, we actually have IT programs in 3 different schools and colleges. And it's great. So a student can't even navigate through your college or school structure to find what they want. So then there's all this complexity that comes from what we do in higher ed. And so this is interesting because I'm going to have to change my point of view of being I don't actually want people to use the site search, to being maybe this is the new thing in the hero. Maybe the program finder
there it is.
Has a lifespan. And maybe the program finder was a great tool for the past 10 years that has allowed us to improve performance of a website. But maybe the future is a lot brighter than just that. This is kind of cool.
Imagine the day you land on, insert institution.edu,
yeah.
And instead of a drone video, it is a very similar experience to going to Google, and it's ask, this university anything.
Yeah.
And you just start to interact with the website like you and I are talking right here.
Wow. All right, this is exciting.
The future's now, Seth. Let's go.
I guess so. It's a new day. There's no fluff.
There's no fluff here. Oh, we're bringing it full circle, friends.
Full
We are
circle.
bringing it full circle. Well, and on that note, on that delicious note, we wrap up another edition of The Pulse. We'll catch you next week, friends. Bye-bye.
The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify Podcast Network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.